Welcome back. It looks like I'm going to be able to fit in one last episode before the family comes. So here we go. Getting... I don't even remember what my reward was at this point. I think it was another Orc Storm Shock Trooper. Not Stormtrooper. That was the Nazis that had those. But, oh, and the Empire, I guess. I was thinking about how, I think it's 2 episodes ago, I had been talking about how I'd sort of missed out on on the previous 4 years due to injury, and then the 4 to 8 years before that due to depression, illness. Yeah, illness, I guess would be a way to put it. It was depression, but I think depression is often, well, we call them mental illness, but I think I have a slight theory. This is not, I'm not saying this is correct in this any way, but I have a theory that all psychological conditions are physiological in origin. All or most. I think that therapy and things like it can help you deal with the side effects of the physiological injury. But my theory goes that the condition is almost always or always physiological in origin. That didn't really work. I killed that so I wouldn't have to deal with the martyr, but I got the wrong one. I was thinking about, and I came across this elsewhere. It wasn't my idea originally. Someone had a great comparison where they essentially compared, in their case, it was going on and off of hormones and causing their body to fall apart, basically. And like creaking joints and weakened limbs and making them look old. They said the aging, especially, in my case, the aging is through time. Theirs was just an instant transfer of the hormones. But it reminded them of Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle. Because she's turned into an old woman. She's a young woman. I don't remember. She's 16 or 17 or somewhere in there. It's been a long time since I read Howl's Moving Castle. She's turned into an old woman at the age of, let's say, 16. And she decides, okay, I'm an old woman now. She doesn't bemoan her fate. Like, she's upset about it, obviously, but she doesn't give up. She decides, okay, I'm going to be an old woman, so what do Oh, yes. Look at that. Oh, I'm excited. I haven't tested this at all. I wanted to keep it for... I wanted to experience it at the same time as you guys, so... I'm very excited for this. This might actually be a bad battle to test out this ability in, but we'll see how it goes. I had to download a potential virus onto my computer to make it work, so it better work. But yeah, Sophie, she becomes old and shriveled, and her hair goes white, and she needs a cane to get around. And she's like, okay, well, I can't be this hat maker anymore. I've got to become I don't remember if it's because she's afraid people will recognize her and she doesn't like that, or if it's because she can no longer do the haberdashery, but she decides to seek employment as the wizard's housekeeper. I think to get him to undo the spell as well. Although, in the end, I don't think it was Howl that actually cast the spell. But it's been a while, so... Is that a spoiler? I don't know. Is it a spoiler if I don't remember? If I'm just theorizing? Now what they could be doing is running away, and then I might not catch them in time. In a similar manner to what I've been doing to the AI. So I'll just give them a little tickle. And then... Do you have a second heal on you? No. And I've used both your heals now. You do have a resurrect. So that'll be helpful for the fairies. If I put there, better be safe because I can't do anything if they're not. Okay. And then get you ready to loop around the back. And Nomlik. Now the giant, actually, I don't want to die. I mean, I don't want any of them to... I could do that. Rebirth. Why? Is that a bug? There's like no spells where they do that, where they turn around, like friendly spells where they turn around like that. Did that just get the giant killed? Do you have resurgence? You do not. Can someone with resurgence please die instead of my giant? I'm going to put that in, 1 second. Yeah, I just put that in a note to change so that resurgence doesn't make you face the caster. Because I don't think any other friendly spell does that. Now, the risk here is that I've arranged everyone to be facing one direction, and theoretically the Shadow Stalkers can teleport. But I don't think the AI will use the Shadow Step because it does damage. Another reason why I might want to change it. But, I could also change it so the AI ignores the damage, but then it would probably kill itself teleporting around. That kind of worked. Keep the giant alive. Now what I actually wanted to cast was... I should have moved forward first as well. I actually wanted to have casted Divine Retribution, but I don't think that's going to happen now. So the fairies don't do as well as I hope because they are using the wrong kind of magic. I've got a heal ready, but I think it's more important to get rid of these things. Ooh, maybe not. You have a heal ready too. I think you can handle a flank. Hopefully. And then... Please tell me you have resurgence. You do. Okay. You're just going to keep those company. Apparently I totally forgot about you. And... I get the flank there. That would be nice. Okay. Fortunate. Okay, I kind of wanted them to die for that Warrior's Honor, so that's good. Okay, did that work? It should have refilled his casting points. It did not. I'll have to figure out a different way to do that, or maybe it's not possible. Give me another over here, just to keep them busy. And then I can get a flank going that way. And I can get a stab off over here. I can risk these because if they die, I can simply bring them back. And the knight can maybe finish these. Nice. These are meant to be a tier 3, and I'm afraid of all these tier 4s. Yeah. Okay. So now, Nomlik, I would like to resurrect my Crusader. No, not my Crusader, my Assassin. Well, I guess I have to do both. And... get the flank in there. And then... get a flank over on this side. I'd like the Crusaders to move so they get off the body of the Assassin before they die again. Giants aren't doing so well. And then I think I just let the Assassin die. Because otherwise, the fight might go to a point. Okay, I've got to try. How do I do this safely? You're going to need to move here. I think if I stand here, maybe? Okay, okay, okay. Because if you recall, just to be clear, he has the horned helmet of the verbose dragon slayer. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay. It's a little slow to start up, but maybe that's good. I like the shaking. Maybe the shaking should happen after. And knocking it towards me, I don't think there's a way I can fix that, because there's only random displacement in the game. Maybe it should be a little louder too. But I'm happy the ability worked at all, so there's that. Spider could get out of there, I think, actually. And then... going for a devastating charge. And the fairies can top him down a bit. Okay, so in theory now, if I were to attack with someone who can attack... Okay, well the theory goes that the Shadowstalker has no attacks left, but he might just kill my Hunter Spider Queen. Is there anything I could do about that, even if... No. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, he did use up all his movement points. That's good. Then, I can have my assassin back. And go for the kill with whoever I think needs it most here. Knight, I guess. Yeah, Sophie's example is something kind of inspirational. She's basically come into a circumstance where she will die. Just gold. Yeah, what on earth? Is that a quest? I don't... No, thank you. No, I'm not fighting that. They look kind of like the columbine flower, if you've seen those. I've always thought so anyways. Especially if you look at them from behind, which I can't do from this screen. So Sophie's example is clearly one of finding cowards. Go, 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 go. Okay. What have we here? Still a lot of those trebuchets. I think I'm definitely gonna have to ban those. They're coming up there. I could do that. That'd at least give me some control over this fight. But yes, Sophie's example is a way you can find strength and meaning through art. And my original example was talking about continuing on with Nomlik after he had lost his army. And now look at him. He's got 3 tier 4s, and he's got this champion level 1 Crusader, but still. Got a Crusader with 75 health, and a Dread Spider Queen at gold rank. It's very powerful. He's moved on from previous failure, and maybe stronger than ever before, and maybe stronger for it in some ways. And that's from a video game. And I think video games get a bad rap in this field of art, but I do believe they are art. A lot. I'm not going to attribute values. I was about to, but I won't. Like how many people do what. But I have seen people, at the very least, say video games are just a form of addiction or a way to pass time or a way to avoid this or that responsibility on Earth. Or, even just more positively, a way to relax and unwind. But still never as an art form, which I don't think is correct. It's like, why is this knight so slow? It's because they always curse him. He's always the target. I guess because he's the biggest threat in a lot of ways. It's one of the few units they can't ignore with their physical resistance. And they can't mind control. It just kind of shuts them down at every turn. Get you over there. Get you over there. I'm almost... I don't know. I think the legendary units are a little overpowered. But that is kind of their thing. And they are not easy to get. You don't see the AI with any... I have played against the AI where they get them, but they're not doing it this time around. I think they're mostly focused on the Shadowstalkers. And also, a single Shadowstalker is almost scarier than a legendary High Elf Griffin Rider anyways, so there's that. And where's Sundrin at? She is over there. But yeah, video games is art. I think so there's this idea that it's passive consumption. It's raw entertainment. There's no creativity. There's no, when you dance, you're doing more than just learning the steps of something. You're actually engaging in a creative enterprise with another person. When you play music, you are improvising in the moment. And I think video games are actually the same. I think video games are a moment of a creative what would be they are they are art in motion. They are the creative interplay between yourself and the action, especially like it's most obvious in a fighting game. Okay, yeah, all those effects needs to happen sooner. I worked so hard to get the timing right so that the sound wave came out with each of the syllables, but the sound effect happening after everything's over doesn't quite work. Also needs to be louder, but ugh. Already using a software that was a little dodgy. It's a Fmod designer, which you can't get anywhere these days unless you get special permission from the users, or you find or you have like an old copy lying around, or you find an old copy lying around. And so I wasn't totally keen on just grabbing a copy from somewhere, but now you are researching, right? You are. You also have regeneration for some reason? Because of veteran. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. It just makes them like an orc victory cry, but more so. Makes them very much a shock trooper because they keep shocking. And you have resurgence, good. So you're safe to move up here. And I guess I can move you there. And Crusader, you're fine. Giant. Now these giants do not have resurgence. And it does seem to be a disproportionate amount, as in all of the Shadowstalkers coming for them. I think I'm just going to hang back for this turn. And, yeah, just do some... Let's take the gate out anyways. Start whittling it down. These guys are fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. We're also, this is quite a long running game. Like, a game is meant to be about 40 to 80 turns, and I think we're around 60 turns already, so having a bunch of late game units, not super crazy. The fact that, you know, I don't have Shadowstalkers of my own shows how behind I am, but also, you know, every map is different, and this map is a pretty awkward map to be expanding rapidly. But yeah, a fighting game, it's kind of like dancing with another person when you play against them. Because it's not about, oh, only your fingers are moving versus your whole body. I mean, there is something to that, but it's you don't actually move your fingers on a controller when you play a video game. You move as the character on the screen. If that doesn't convey the idea on its own, how would I put it? You use the interface as a proxy for your own being. And your mind treats it as if that is who you are. And you could say you're losing your sense of self then, but I think it's the same with the piano. You're not moving your fingers on a key. You are creating music. You're in that moment. You're akin to you approach the divine. I think would be the non-blasphemous way to say it. I could say you're akin to a god, but that's a bit too much because well, it sounds a bit arrogant. And it doesn't quite express the idea, like the arrogance doesn't express the idea I'm looking for. Because it's not an arrogant idea. So in the Cult of Dionysus, there's this idea that Dionysus was murdered by the Titans, and he was devoured by them, or by the giants, possibly. He was torn into little pieces and devoured by them. And Zeus, his father, saw this and was horrified. And so Zeus, who is much more powerful than a lot of modern media depicts him as, he has the power of destruction. And so, horrified by this action, he took his lightning bolts of destruction, which have the power to destroy utterly, and he killed all the giants or all the titans. And and obliterated them, so they turned into soil basically, like they just fell apart. Now Dionysus was a god, so even though he had been eaten and digested, he didn't die because he's a god, he's divine, he's immortal. And so those specks of Dionysus, those specks of divinity in the that was that was their broadside. I was like, what did they just do? That's just the broadside. I guess that would be a pretty intense moment. I wonder if there's any demonstrations where a ship fires off a broadside, because that would be amazing to see. In person, like the sound would be incredible, I imagine. Like, you think a cannon's big, imagine naval cannons, which are way bigger, and then imagine, 20, 30 of them going off all at once. It would be a moment that would stick with you forever. Okay. Alright, you, what do I have? Acid arrows, maybe? Not that good, but it's something. I do have Shadow Stalker, a frozen Shadow Stalker now. But yes, so you had the giants all died, and in the remains of their flesh was the seeds of divinity. And so you have this, the soil is, in the cult of Dionysus, the earth is, the mundane is the evil structure. It's kind of similar to the Gnostic belief where it's earth is a prison where beings are bound. So the this mundane firmament now contained the seed of divinity, and from that grew humans. So humans are bound to the mortal plane, and they are sinful as mortals, or as beings of beings of mundanity, mundane beings, and mundane as in like of the earth. That might have been a bit of a risk there, but we'll see what happens. Assassins die again. Those poor assassins. Is that enough to go to green? Not really. That's enough to kill. It is easily enough to kill. You can't escape. Send you through the gate. And I guess I'll just have to do this for now. Oh, or not. So humans hold within them both the sort of devilish earth, you could maybe a way to look at it, sort of realm of profanity, but they also hold within them the capacity for divinity. And I think a lot of people, I think it's quite common, a belief in most religions, that you approach something akin to divinity through music, through art, through dance. And I think that video games, not just people say, oh yeah, there's video games that are art. Look at like The Last of Us, or I don't know, some other video game that's turned into a movie, like the Metal Gear Solid series. They say, look, it's art, but that's actually just, I think that's the weakest form of video game art, where they imitate another medium. I think the strongest case for video game art is when, my arcane arrows. I think the strongest case for video game art is actually when the video game creates an art that is unique to video games. Yeah, I just have to let those assassins die, I think. And instead of trying to imitate movies or books or theater or anything else. And instead do something that only they can do and they can uniquely do, like experience something. So turning them into a crow keeps them dead, even though the idea was that the crow just comes to feast on the corpse. I guess you could say the crow ate the corpse. Well, that's quite sad. Feast for crows, stopping resurgence, ban AI from Trebuchet Armada. The Trebuchet Armada is meant to be a joke unit. It's not meant to be something that is actually used as an important strategy in the AI's repertoire, so I'll just take that away. I might make it more expensive even. I want them to be able to be used in a sort of fun way, but yeah, that's a bit much. The idea that humans are mortal seeds placed in divine soil isn't unique to the cult of Dionysus either. It's quite common in the mysteries, which the mysteries are, you could think of them as a series of cults, but it's kind of a combination of a cult and a philosophical movement. And I think that reason is, it'd be, okay, well, why would a god take this divine seed and put it in mortal soil? Like, why not just keep the perfection up in heaven where it belongs? And I think the answer is the same reason you put any seed in soil, and it's so that seed can grow. So the seed is this thing of life and pure, but it needs the mortal soil in order to actually do something with that. I don't know if you listening have ever played Go, but it's a game where you place black and white stones on a grid, and if you, one per turn, and if your stones surround your opponent's stones, you remove your opponent's stones from the board, and whoever has the most area surrounded by their stones at the end of the game wins. And what I've found when I play Go is, it's a very simple game, but very simple to learn, but has very deep strategy. Some of the deepest of any game. And what I've found is the more I played it, and the better I got at it, the more I saw ways it could apply to everything, right? So you can't just attack a problem head on and go, it won't work. You have to maneuver, you have to use sleight of hand in a way. You have to set it up so that even if you fail, you win. You start a fight in one corner that moves towards another corner, which enables you to win both, for example. And that is a way to view conversations, getting people to agree with you. Debate. It's like you can't just question someone's beliefs, right? You can't say, no, like, the Earth is flat, the Earth is round. You can't just say, no, the Earth is round, you're stupid if you think otherwise. You're not going to convince anyone of that. Maybe you'll feel good, but you're not actually going to make the world a better place. You're not going to help anyone. You're not going to... Because why are you having this argument? Who cares if they think it's flat or not? The reason should be because it would make their lives better, right? Otherwise, you're just arrogantly trying to prove that you know something that someone else doesn't? It's like reciting facts from a book is no great feat. Especially in an age where you can look up any fact you want online. Any true fact. I'm not saying made up facts even. I'm just saying it's no great feat to know a lot of stuff. Trivia maybe at one time made you a useful person, but now it's just if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. But there's no point in submitting others to it. I think we've entered this time where you can know anything just by looking it up, and so therefore you're expected to know everything. But we're mortals, and it's ridiculous to have to know everything. So instead, to help to teach or to theoretically improve the flat earther, or to have just an interesting conversation, if you're both trying to seek the truth, and that's the most interesting kind of conversation in the first place, is where you're both exploring ideas and you're not sure of the answer and you're trying to work it out together. And you could say, okay, how could we figure out, you do a sort of Socratic method where you say, okay, how could we figure out what shape the Earth was at all? And you say, okay, what is an event we can use? And you can say, well, during an eclipse, for instance, you see the shadow of the Earth. And so that could give you some clue as to its shape. And you say, okay, well, it's round, but spheres and disks are both round. So that narrows it down maybe. And, if a cone from the right direction also produced a round shadow. And even a cube could give you a shadow that appeared slightly round from the exact right angle, like if you got it on its point. And so you say, okay, so we have a better idea of what shape the Earth is, but how can we know if it's a sphere or a circle? Say, okay, well, if we could see multiple eclipses, and now this is the tricky thing about proving anything, because a thought experiment's all well and good, but if you can't actually do it in practice, then you're not going to convince anyone, because, any written truth can be fabricated, any video proof or whatever can be fabricated, and any word from a scientist can be a lie. It's actually quite a good sign of healthy skepticism if you need to be able to demonstrate your own proofs of things, right? That's why mathematical classes, when they get later, you do all the proofs from ground up, same in physics. You don't just take their word for that E equals mc squared, you actually do the proof. And if you do the proof and you find a way that, and you say, hey, wait, this proof doesn't make any sense, then, well, that's great, because now science has advanced in some way. So you can say, okay, well, if we can see multiple eclipses, maybe we take these videos as proof of the eclipses, if we're willing. If we're not, we'll have to come up with a different solution. But let's go with the eclipse for now. Then we can say it's always round. And no matter what angle the no matter where on the Earth the eclipse shadow is cast from, or where you, no matter where on the Earth, no matter where the Earth is relative to the Sun, the shadow appears to be circular, which would suggest that it's a sphere. Now that's a great proof, except that it requires on a shared understanding of the definition of what happens during an eclipse. Because you could say, well, how do I know that an eclipse is the shadow of the Earth on the Sun? And how do, or, yeah, no, I guess Earth on the Sun, Earth on the Moon. There we go. How do I know that an eclipse is the shadow of the Earth on the Moon? I'm talking about a lunar eclipse, I guess. No? Solar? Lunar eclipse. Yeah. I'll see if even if I can't walk through it, then that's not, how do I know that what I'm saying isn't complete nonsense? And so, Go teaches you that. Go teaches you you have to approach things from an oblique angle. And what you realize is that the better you become at Go, the better you become at conversation, and the better you become at tactics, and the better you become at conflict resolution, and the better you become at relationships and friendships. And this isn't Go isn't some magical game. Like, well, it is pretty impressive, but I think this is an aspect of anything taken to mastery teaches you about everything else. Life is a metaphor for life. Everything leads to everything else. If you look at now, you say, okay, that's kind of neat, but how far does that extend? And what I find amazing is these new large language models based on transformer architecture are, in a way, they were just told, okay, figure out, in very basic terms, figure out which section, which token comes next, and the token being like, 2 to 4 letters, let's say. And so the AI came up with a series of variables which allows it to determine, okay, if A and B and C, therefore D, and if C, D, and E, therefore E, and it weights each of these equations. So it'll say 2x plus 3a plus 4y for even the smallest models, like 3 billion parameters. Then this will produce an output of D, E, A, F, whatever it might be. And using just that, we suddenly had AIs that could do math, that could translate, that could write songs that were creative, that were funny, and it appeared. And to me, that suggests that anything taken to mastery makes you better at everything else. And this was sort of proven with robots, where they gave robots a specific data set attuned for a task. So it's like, put this ball in this spin, and then they had another robot with another data set tuned for another task. Walk across this room, and another one for another test. Determine which of these objects is taller, and walk over to it and push it over. That sort of thing. And so they had robots that were trained specifically for tasks using datasets. And then they had robots where they simply gave them the data of all datasets except the one that they were supposed to work on. And it was found that the robots that were given a broad dataset performed better than the ones that were trained on a specific task, which I think is incredible. And so it suggests that being talented at many things is more important than simply narrowly focusing on one thing, which also makes specialization in medicine and other fields like that all the more questionable. Because already you're trying to reduce a person to just their heart or just their respiratory system or just their lung, and there's too much for a single person to learn. But it makes it even more questionable when you realize, hang on, you perform better if you become a master at everything. But all this to say, video games are not a waste of time, because mastery at anything, or just an idle distraction, because mastery of anything, especially things like art, where there's mastery. I think art is something in which there's expression and mastery to be had, and learning to express yourself in a masterful way is a very beautiful thing. You have researches? You don't. Okay. These griffins are in a little bit of trouble. Quick dash. No, quick dash doesn't count as a sprint. Okay, good. And then these need to go down. These need to go down. Finally. And yes, you need to start getting experience. I brought up the AI to show that you can have something approximating consciousness arise from simply an autocomplete. So what could arise from something as complex and as varied as a video game? Like you could learn how to be a better commander. You could learn how to accept failure. You could learn how to take acceptable risks. You could learn how not all risks are bad. You could learn that maybe perfection isn't desirable, or maybe perfect play is too slow, as if you have your army super strong but you're falling behind, or maybe research is less important. But attention relocation. I've heard about a number of people have learned from RimWorld, for example, that you can perform better in life if you're willing to give yourself a schedule rather than simply do anything whenever. And your life actually becomes more efficient, and you have more free time and more time spent working if you have a time set aside for work and a time set aside for recreation. And so that leads into, okay, you should go to bed at specific times and you should wake up at specific times. And that translates, because in RimWorld, if you set schedules for your pawns, they tend to be much more efficient and happier. I think as well, it completely ignores the fact that a lot of video games contain within them the seeds of creativity. Maybe not all video games, especially not ones, like the whole Uncharted type games where it's just a story that you're watching. Maybe I'm being too dismissive of this. People are dismissive of video games, but then I'm dismissive of a genre, so I do catch myself a little bit and wonder if I'm being fair. But at least in genres like this and in fighting games, let's say, there is the creativity of, wait, if I attach a battering ram to a trebuchet, then I can throw that forward into the middle of my units, and suddenly they're over the walls and they're immune from or resistant to arrow fire. Isn't that cool? And that's a creative spark of something. You've created something, and how can you say that creation is not creative, not interesting? I think there is a wrong way to play a video game where you sort of passively, where you never take a moment to look up from the mini-map and you're playing the game down here. I found that with The Witcher without a lot of tweaking. The Witcher is just staring at a minimap going from point to point to point and then pressing the right buttons at the right time, and it's not really a game. And I actually like The Witcher 3, that is. And I actually think The Witcher 3 isn't... It's almost kind of blasphemous to say, but I don't think The Witcher 3 is a very good game. Like, it has a lot of good moments, and the polish and some of the things that people put into it are amazing. The work people put into it are amazing. And there are certain quests, like the Tower of Mice, the Well, those sort of things, where there is actually a lot of investigation, a lot of thinking, where you're going, okay, what could this be? How do I approach this? I have to prepare ahead of time. But a lot of the time it's just, okay, we're going to auto-equip oils for you, and then you go and you press the button until the enemy dies. This doesn't matter the difficulty of the game either. Maybe you have to be a bit better at timing, but there's not a sense of preparation like in the second or first game. And there's not a sense of figuring it out. Like, I had a quest where I had to make a smelly potion and scatter it around to lure a creature, and I figured that out on my own. It was very exciting. And then I went to scatter it about where I wanted the creature to show up. I chose the terrain and everything, and it's like, no, you have to stick it in these 3 specific locations, and they look identical to everything else, and the only way to actually interact with them is to use your Witcher senses to see where on the minimap. Actually, no, you had to look at the minimap specifically and stand within those spots. And a lot of the directions in the game, they don't say... Like, if you play Morrowind or you play a lot of older video games, they say, go over that hill, go 20 paces to the east, and then you'll see a rock. To the right of the rock, there's XYZ. And so there's this engagement of just looking at the world, and it forces the developers to actually create an interesting world on top of that. And The Witcher doesn't do that, except for, like I said, the Tower of Mice quest. Instead, it says, oh yeah, he's over the hill a ways. It's like, which hill? How far? What am I looking for? Or go talk to the alderman. And it's like, what alderman? Where? Which city? What do I tell him? They totally get rid of that aspect of the game, and that means that they rely more and more on the minimap doing all the heavy lifting for them. The minimap tells you where you are, and they don't have to actually create an interesting world to walk within, and it's just a copy-pasted swamp for the majority of the world. Oh, that's bad. It's really bad. Huh? Okay. Right. Can frozen be removed with fire? No. Resists. I think I'm gonna have to retreat. Which is going to suck. Really know what else to do at this point. take out the gate. Anyway, I can get Reskar out of there without retreating him. Quick dash, he's unable to move, so that won't matter. Cunning, yeah, I think I just have to use Cunning Escape. Which is unfortunate, because if he just got a little bit away, he could do some work. Although, I think they're spread out enough. Actually. Then put that guy around. It's just one less thing to worry about. Oh yeah, Sundrin, I think you're going to need to be ready to retreat, and I think Reskar just has to get out of here. Unfortunately. Then shock troopers. I want to do this. The giants should do good work in there. I might be losing all my spiders. Right? We take out those. Giant pops up here. And very continues to weaken these things. That's enough to kill it if I get lucky. If Reskar, you are in danger. You are in serious danger. Dash, eh? Interesting. Has slightly dampened my plans to hopefully no frostbite. Okay, frostbite. Right. Okay. I don't kill him. Come on, please don't. Please don't kill him. Please don't kill him. Come on. Oh, the crows. Gotta do it with the crows. Okay. Insult to injury. Oh man. What a disaster. And then poison blades do very little. Quick dash. The giants. Some movement, but they can't move. Quick dash on the fairies. Gives them something to work with. Oh man, I didn't even kill that armada. I'm tempted to have Nom continue the good fight. I can potentially stand such that, yeah, if I stood right here. Now if the Shadow Stalker tries to move away from the spider, it'll probably get killed. Unless that happens. That's that gone. Now we have to deal with that armada. Oh, look what's become of my 4 armies. All for a fight I could have just waited a turn for. Here's living with your mistakes. 101. I can get my spiders back. I guess this little bit squishy guy. Quick dash giants and pop them right there. Good. And the fairies can do some good work here. I can quick dash my giants again. Charge them forward. Okay, Trismegistus. You can take a hit from something. Keep going for you. That's fine. Grab spider back. Beautiful spider. Poor, sweet, innocent, beautiful spider. That thing seems intent on killing my fairies, so they can get out of there. Finally out of spells. At least get some experience out of it, maybe? Man. That sucked. What did I lose? Legendary Human Knight, Dread Spider Queen, Legendary Orc Shock Trooper, 2 spiders. I lost 3 spiders and 2 legendary units. Didn't have to go that way. That's all of Nomic's troops gone. All because Sundrin entered. Well, also because of that Feast for Crows, which is not the... I don't think that's what I guess Necromancers can do that. So it's not an ability that doesn't occur sometimes. But it feels bad all the same. On the other hand, that was 2 tier 4s for the cost of, like, half her empire. She's just got this major city left and this major city left, and the other 2, this one are, well, actually this one's kind of large, but they're smaller. But now Nomlik doesn't have an army. I might actually have to start building some troops. I guess these guys are now Nomlik's army. I will complete your quest. And now I'm back to having an army of units that actually have resurgence. An assassin that cannot die, that's a scary thought. They have no reason not to just go in and charge. In real life too, like, a way you can assassinate almost anyone is just standing up next to them and shooting them, but then you won't live yourself, right? It's the classic. Although even that doesn't work all the time. But it's the classic thought anyways, and if you're unkillable, or you'd come back to life after every attempt, you'd become very scary. Trismegistus, of course, he's kind, so he'll give the Impalers a chance to betray his foes, his friends. Okay, easy Trismegistus. Easy. We don't want to lose everyone here. Get stabbed. Get resurrected. Smacked. I think those Impalers are gonna die. Oh no, they went for the storm, for the shock troopers, thankfully. Now, take a spearman. And my fearless assassins. Finish those off. Wow, they just took out half the army on their own. No losses. And 3 new units. Okay. And unfortunately, I think that is where I'll have to end it for now. So we'll come back whenever I can find time during the visits, and we will crush Isabel. Take her last 1, 2, 3, 4 cities. Yeah, just think about where we started. We had one little giant town, basically, and then we had Nuvina. She had everything else, basically. She conquered them before I could get to them. And now I've pushed her empire back. I've taken her major city of Miliz. Just don't have uh, Priatan. And now I am the bigger empire. She's probably ahead in research still, as long as my armies continue not to die. Although I did have some heavy losses there. As long as they don't die for the most part, I'm doing pretty good. And yeah, I hope you're having as much fun as I am. And can't wait to see you next time. Take care.